We live in a different time. We live in a time today where an average human being is bombarded by 3,000 pieces of information a day. And 90% of that information is marketing and trying to sell something to you. If I open my wallet, I can show you. I have a little card I wrote 14 years ago, some of my goals. And one of the goals is by the age of 55 years old, which is exactly 9 years from today, I have to be worth at least $10 million. Here's the deal. It is important to define what the why is. The reason why is because a lot of people's perception of success is based on what they see from other people. It's not based on what they are deeply convinced in their heart that is success, right? Do you know, can you believe that my father worked all his life, died at 87, he doesn't own a mansion? Wow.
Boss, you talked already about gifts, and I wanted you to emphasize something. The fact that in our community, it's common for people to want to give you gifts based on what they think is good for you, instead of actually verifying or investigating or observing, and then know, you know what, this is actually what my brother would like. This is actually what my sister would like. Either by asking you questions, or I just want you to emphasize the need for us to give gifts that will actually please the person we are giving the gift to, instead of just giving gift because, okay, I'm supposed to give a gift, so I just go buy a shoe and can add to the 2 million shoes that you have.
You make a good point, gifting, but I think the important thing to pay attention to when it comes to gifting is, first of all, the intention.
Yeah.
You see, America is a capitalist place, and because of that, they've shared their mentality subconsciously across the world. So let's go back to the fundamental of gifting. The fundamental of gifting comes from the fact that Toridey looks at Gustav and thinks about him positively, nicely, with a lot of love, and say, hey, I'm going to go out of my way and find something to tell Gustav how much I appreciate him. Gifting is basically a way of saying thank you, a way of appreciating, right? It comes with a positive connotation. So I think it's important for us to recognize that innocence, let me use it in quotes, that altruistic virginity of the concept of gifting needs to be protected. It should come from a deep place, a place of love. Now, if you have the privilege or you have the opportunity to be able to determine, maybe you know the person and you know what they might like, what they might enjoy. Okay, it makes sense to go around with something like that, right? But if you don't, it shouldn't stop you from going ahead and still being able to go and make a gesture that comes from the bottom of your heart. Now, one of the ways to the modern times we live in has helped alleviate that is that we also have opportunities for things like gift cards, right? I am one person, I use a lot of gift cards when I'm in doubt. If I want to give somebody a gift and I'm not sure what they'll really appreciate, what they'll really enjoy, that they'll use, because when you give somebody a gift, you want them to put it to use, right? So if I'm not sure what they will really use, I will get a gift card, because with a gift card, they can go ahead and get whatever it is they want to. But it's interesting that you talk about gift, especially because this is the season of gifting, right? And it's a season too where a lot of times, a lot of families, we all as a people struggle with budgeting for this season. What is really relevant for this season? How we can make it valuable, right? Especially gifting to our children. I remember for most of us growing up in Cameroon, during Christmas, the reason why our Christmas toy was valuable, why our Christmas shoe was valuable, why our Christmas outfit was valuable, because it was scarce, right? My sister used to clean my parents' rooms. So 1 week before Christmas, she will be the one to come tell us the shoes and clothes are here. Now we will bribe her with our meat 2 days in a row for her to come and will come and hide by the door, and she'll bring her shoe and show me the tip of the shoe. That's a Christmas shoe. You understand? Now what is happening to us today is that we saturate our children and it loses value.
Wow.
I don't know if I make sense.
That's very true.
I understand the emotional point of parents. I understand the willingness to want to do something for your children, especially, when we're growing up, we didn't have, no. That is why a lot of times you see parents get angry. They just gave kids something on the 25th. By the 6th of January, they no longer are using the toys. They don't want the shoes no more. That time is too many. 5 pairs of shoes, 3 outfits, 4 toys. It's too many gifts. They won't value it, right? What I suggest to parents, and which is what I also practice, is that there is a huge percentage of the budget set aside for gifts for our children that goes into their investment funds.
Wow.
For future growth.
Which is still another gift.
It's a powerful,
it's
a gift with a massive impact. Yeah. So what it is, for example, if we budget $100 for one child, right? About $70 of that will go into their investment account because they have something which many of us don't have on our side, which is time.
Wow.
Time is a powerful compounding accelerator, sir. A child who is 10 years old today, if you put $100 in their account, you keep adding every month by $25, and you stop at 21 years old. By the time they are 65, retiring, they could easily have hundreds of thousands of dollars in an account for doing nothing, right? And then the other 25% you can use to buy their toys because they want to enjoy Christmas like kids. So we have to give them that privilege to enjoy like kids, right?
Yeah.
But let's not overdo it because we feel like when we're going on, we had only one shoe, we had only one dress. Another opportunity for gifting, which is very powerful, I've learned over time too, is experiences. You see, by very human nature, if I ask you the brown shoe you had last year, you probably won't remember.
Yep.
But if I ask you all the trips you've taken since you came to America, you remember those trips?
There was one trip I went to Houston. Now I'll never.
Exactly, right? So experiences are very powerful. That is something, too, I believe it's important to provide, not only to ourselves, to our children, but, to family members, if it's possible. It doesn't only have to be travel. It could be concerts. It could be comedy clubs. It could be skydiving. It could be different kinds of experiences. But those are the things that remain memorable for a long period of time, especially around this period of holiday season, right?
Yeah.
You can buy people gift cards to visit some museums or to visit some places that gives them a different kind of experience. And the reason why I say this is because, most people, especially from different parts of the world coming into America, right? Never really take the time to explore America.
Very true.
We live in America 20, 30, 40 years. We never take the time to explore America. We never take the time to get on a road trip, drive through America. When you fly into Dallas, you go attend a wedding for 2 days, you fly out, you haven't seen Dallas.
That's true.
You haven't. I'm being honest.
But then most people have it checked, I've been to Dallas.
Exactly. Yes, you've been to Dallas. But listen, I am passionate about driving. I love driving, and I've done a lot of driving when I was much younger, right? I've driven from Minnesota to California, different places. That's when I had a new, refined respect for what it takes to build a nation as powerful as America, and what it is going to take for us to build a continent like Africa to be in that level of influence. There is a certain amount of human will that it takes, and that is why I'm very passionate about mindsets, because the human will starts from there. I'll tell you an interesting story, Toridey, and to all our listeners. In the 1960s, I believe it's May of 1964, President J.F. Kennedy called together the top engineers of America, and he gave them a challenge. He said, by the end of the decade, America has to drop a rocket, a man on the moon. I need you people to think about how we're going to achieve that and tell me what it is going to take. I mean, these guys are top engineers from MIT, from Harvard, from Stanford, and all these great American institutions. And the head of the engineering team thought for a little bit, and he stood up. And he said, Mr. President, you are asking us for what it is going to take to land a man on the moon. The one thing I can tell you is the will to win. Do we have the will to win? He didn't talk about rockets. He didn't talk about fuselages. He didn't talk about all the scientific things. I failed science from 3, from 4 I knew I was. Right? He didn't talk about all the science behind all of that. He talked about the human will to win.
which was technically actually reiterating what he said. This is what you want, but then you have to continue believing we can do that also.
Absolutely, Toridey.
Yeah.
Right? So when I look at where a lot of people are in their lives today, right? And people ask me all the time, Gustav, what is the one thing you would advise me to do? I say the one thing I would advise you to do without even knowing your story, right? Find a way to develop the will to win. Winning doesn't have to be big. Winning doesn't have to be by the standard of somebody else. If somebody else's winning is a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square feet home, that doesn't have to be winning for you. If somebody else's winning is a big Mercedes, that doesn't have to be winning for you. You have to define what winning is for you. Are we together?
Very true.
I have an elderly friend, slightly older guy, out of Ghana. I met him in Minnesota many years ago. He came to America in his late ages, sometime about 45 years old. And I remember back then, we were just chatting in his house and eating kenke, right? Which is a good Ghanaian meal there, some corn meal with some fried fish, very tasty, and some boiled eggs in it, right?
Wow.
They call it kenke and shito for my Ghanaian people who might be watching, right? And we're just chatting, and I asked him, I understand the challenge it is for you to live where you're from in Ghana. You're already working, you're in the mid-40s, and you come to America with your family of 5 children. What would amount to success for you in America? And he told me success for him is simple. If he can get his kids disciplined enough to stay the course, go through college in America, finish at least a bachelor's degree, and start working, he's achieved everything he wanted to achieve in life.
Wow.
That is winning for him.
Yeah.
What is winning for you, Toridey? What is winning for you, people watching us today? Define what winning is first. When you define that, then you learn and train yourself how to develop the will to win. And the way you develop the will to win is by learning how other people won. What is that mindset? That's why President JFK Kennedy asked them the question, and the engineer said the will to win before talking about anything else.
Boss, I like that you bring that up, because I keep telling people, be very careful with what you're doing today, because the world is full of so many definitions.
Yes.
Your definition of happiness is not my definition of happiness. I should look for my own definition of happiness, focus, and do what I have to do. So long as what I'm doing is legal, so long as what I'm doing is not placing any burden on someone else, it's not placing any responsibility on someone else, then I'm happy. Just exactly what you were saying. If you feel like for you a happy place is 1 million cars, 30 million jet planes, that's fine.
Yes.
I feel like, because I for so long I was wondering why, if we are actually trying to define happiness or wealth or riches or success by our standards nowadays, so are we technically saying all of our forefathers and all of those people were not successful?
But now, but listen, Toridey.
Yes.
You make a very brilliant point there, right? And what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's even more relevant today. And one of the reasons why is because we live in a different time. We live in a time today where an average human being is bombarded by 3,000 pieces of information a day. And 90% of that information is marketing and trying to sell something to you. Either they're selling a lifestyle, they're selling somebody coming out of a private jet. Listen, trust me, right? If I open my wallet, I can show you. I have a little card I wrote 14 years ago, some of my goals. And one of the goals is by the age of 55 years old, which is exactly 9 years from today, I have to be worth at least $10 million. Nothing wrong with making money. I don't know if I make sense.
No, very true.
But here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. It is important to define what the why is. The reason why is because a lot of people's perception of success is based on what they see from other people. It's not based on what they're deeply convinced in their heart that is success, right? I usually don't like to use this example, but I will use it for once. I know a lot of people watching probably they probably know who my father is, right? And I say is because his spirit is still alive. That man taught me something.
The greats.
He taught me something about defining what happiness is for you, Toridey. And I will say this, do you know, can you believe that my father worked all his life died at 87. He doesn't own a mansion.
Wow.
I remember when we're laying him to rest in his rock farm in Santa, right? He has a small farmhouse, 3 bedrooms. Yeah. The prime minister came, a whole état-major came, and they couldn't believe. For those who were coming for the first time. Yeah. Do you know why? Because earlier on in his life, he had already decided that happiness to him is impact. Yeah. Happiness to him is the number of people that he can change their life with his words or with his resources. Wow. That is why to him, money was a tool. Yeah. Money wasn't a definition of who he is. Wow. Money wasn't a definition of his level of happiness. Yeah. I'll give you another example. One day they're driving in downtown Yaoundé, right? And somebody scratches his car. This is post, right? At this point, he was the vice president of the Senate. And he's a great, easygoing guy. They're driving and he had an appointment, right? And somebody scratches his car. So they stop the Land Cruiser and they're trying to figure out what is happening. Before his guards know, this guy has already pulled a taxi. He's sitting in a taxi and he's leaving for the appointment. And the guards are saying, no, Pabe, you can't leave. He's saying, you guys come in now, I'm leaving.
The appointment is more important.
You guys are thinking, because I'm a senator, because I'm a former prime minister, I have to be in some situation. No, I'm just another Cameroonian. Yeah. I can enter a taxi like anybody. I am happy doing that. So it's important to define what happiness is for you. What is it that gives you joy? What is it that gives you fulfillment? Joy is temporary. Yeah. Fulfillment is long-term. Yeah. Fulfillment means there are days you will be happy, there are days you will be sad. There are days you will be feeling low, there are days you will be feeling high. Yeah. But when you put the sum total of your extended life, you will be deeply convinced in your spirit that I had a worthy life. Yeah. I had a life worth emulating. I had a life of impact. Because at the end of the day, that is the key. But in order to create impact too, this is the second angle now. Yeah. In order to create impact, we need resources. What are the resources we need? Yep. Number one, we need people. Number two, we need money. Money is important. Yeah. Let nobody say nothing. Money is important. Number three, we need to create a platform which the financial capacity can be extended beyond our own lives. One of the challenges most of us who are immigrant people to America, especially from different parts of Africa, would have noticed is that there are a lot of successful people in generations before us. When they pass away,
what happens?
Everything ends. Yeah. The story is done. Yeah. Kaput. Finito. How do we change that narrative? Living in the greatest nation on earth, exposed to the greatest information, because you don't even need to be living in America. Yeah. Wherever you're living, you have access to the global ecosystem. Yeah. How do we change that narrative? How do we build pillars? How do we build platforms? How do we build mechanisms by which we can make sure that even if Toridey is not alive today, the Toridey empire still continues? If Gustav is not alive today, the GB Achu You Are Enough empire still continues. If my friend Niato and brother is not alive today, the Maimiyaka empire still continues. Right? If Mabel Boma, for example, is not alive today, right? Whoever, Mbole Kane, right? Hot Gem, tell me, how do we build systems? That is where now when you start asking those big questions, then you start realizing why it's important to, number one, define what it is that is creates happiness for you, and number two, what is your why? If you ask anybody and they don't have a why, no, they haven't started asking the big questions. Yeah, they haven't started asking themselves the big questions. Because when you start asking yourselves the big question, you start identifying what your why is. Yeah. When you are living, listen, I have a mentor, it's called Jim Rohn, and he said something very powerful, right? No, it's not Jim Rohn. I forget this other guy's name. He's out of Dallas. He died many years ago. He said something. He said, in life, you can't live as a wandering generality. You have to work on living as a focused specificity.
Can you repeat that?
Say, in life, you can't live as a wandering generality. Yeah. You have to live as a focused specificity. What it really means is, You know, when we were young, right?
Yeah.
One of the things magicians used to do is they will come during a sunny afternoon in a government school at Wacom, where I went to primary school. In America, they call it grade school, right? And they'll take a piece of paper, they will take a thick a piece of glass and place the glass close enough to the paper and between the sun and the paper, right? And as the sun is shining through the glass onto the paper, the glass keeps radiating enough heat, and at a certain point, the paper starts burning.
And you think they would?
And you think it's magic, right? What they simply did is they took the rays of the sun and focused it on that paper long enough. So that is a focus specificity. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. So once you start asking those big questions, you start asking those life-defining questions, it starts clarifying to you too, what is it that you really want to focus on, and what is it that you want to be remembered for?
Gustav B. Achu. Oh my God. Oh God. Man, Torino sweet soul. By the way, shout out to my sister Lutelin Fosa. We can't wait to have you on Toridey, Mama.
Congratulations on
Patience B, I beg you, if you can text me inbox, we need to set up an appointment for you. I'm not sure you're in Texas, but we need to have you also on Toridey. Abanasom Luis, my brother, always here to not only support, to promote. G Fashion Line, my boss, always here. He says your words have the power to ignite passion, spark change, and uplift spirits of those fortunate. At the end of the day, that is what Toridey is all about. That is what my brother is doing. That is the reason why I want to have him on Toridey every now and then.